Welcome to week 2 of MPAI 600 here at Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. Just a couple of announcements. Please keep up the effort. Uh, I know what most people are in the school for the first time, they're in class for the first time, their enthusiasm is high, and then the enthusiasm tends to wane. Please don't let that happen to you. Please keep up the effort that I saw with the discussion posts and the introduction posts this week. Discussion should be about 500 words each question. If you're a little bit short, that's okay, but that should be kind of where you're aiming for. Um, so current events. Obviously, the Capitol Hill assault is the big news of the last week and a half. We are going to talk about intelligence failure in this course, but I want you to start looking at these current events, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's Capitol Hill assault, or whatever else, Fair Wind or SolarWinds cybersecurity failure, uh, as where did the failure occur in the collection, in the intelligence cycle? Did it occur when you were asking initial requirements? Did it occur in the collection? Did it occur in the analysis part? Did it occur in the briefing to policymakers, and the policymakers and decision makers just not make the right decision? Um, I suspect we'll get a lot more information coming out of the news in the next couple of weeks, and there'll be more reporting on this. But as that comes out, be advised, think about it in terms of what we're learning in class. The other point, a couple other points to learn is one, we're going to talk about intelligence failures throughout this course. Yom Kippur War, 9/11, etc. I am not sure that this would fall as an intelligence failure. Intelligence failures means you didn't put together disparate pieces of information that were somewhere within your government. That the information, the dots weren't connected, the information was just in too many different silos. In this case, we had a pretty good idea. We actually had a time, place, date. We had a Twitter feed that really uh, showed that what this could be. So you had that. You also had the mitigation circumstances. I see 20,000 National Guard soldiers in D.C. this weekend, but a fraction of that uh, would have been enough to prevent what happened last week. A fraction more of police, a fraction more of putting just fencing around the Capitol. That those mitigation issues would not have been a big deal, right? Um, Sometimes it's hard to make decisions based on intelligence because you're asking for a pretty big decision, a pretty expensive decision based on intelligence that you're not sure of. In this case, it's the opposite. We were pretty sure that time and place of something was going to happen, and the mitigation circumstances weren't that expensive, at least compared to what we're doing now. So that's one key takeaway. Another key takeaway is I saw this on the news this morning. Several people on the no-fly list, or not on the no-fly list, but on terrorism screening lists, came to D.C. These people were being tracked by the FBI or were on watch lists by the FBI, yet they were still able to travel. They were still able to be in the rally. They were still able to, some of them were able to purchase weapons. Some of them were able to access pretty, sensitive areas pretty easily. So the question comes up, and we have this problem over and over and over again. What do we do for people who are on watch lists or are on the radar of law enforcement, but there's not enough to arrest or detain? Is there anything we can do? So those are just facets of the Capitol Hill that assault that jump out at me, and there'll probably be more going forward. So review of last week. Again, we talked to UBL capture. You saw again how each one of these intelligence disciplines played a role for when you watch the documentary. SIGINT allowed the courier to be linked to Osama bin Laden. HUMINT allowed the courier to be identified through interrogation. GEOINT allowed you to monitor the potential safe house from up above, and you can analyze how many families are there, and does that correspond with UBL? You can analyze the pattern of life of that house, which was far different than a normal house. If it was just a normal person living out and driving in and out of the house. So all these intelligence disciplines came together to provide a good answer. And then in the intelligence cycle, you saw it played out where it went from initial, the requirement was easy, capture Osama bin Laden. But when it gets to, are we collecting on the right? Are we analyzing the right information that's collected? And then the policymaker has to be briefed and make a decision. All those things had to happen, and they had to happen in that order for this success to occur. So we're going to talk about failure a lot in future classes, but all these things happened correctly for there to be a success. So week 2 coming up, you're going to talk about collection strategy, and go ahead and pause me because I give you an example of collection strategy. The one thing I just want to warn you is this is a very well written collection strategy, but he uses too much uh, analysis of blue force. What I mean is that he's analyzing the policies of, in this case, Colorado State Department for that looks at human trafficking. So it's a very well written piece, but the one piece that looks forward that people often make this is that they're asking the question, are our policies effective? That's not what I want you to do. I want you to ask, what is the threat first? So keep that in mind as you're going through this example. So go ahead and go through this example that I sent down. Okay, so welcome back. Again, I emphasize, you saw that he's going through very well written, tightly focused, decent overview, but the one takeaway is that he is going too much into a blue force friendly policy perspective when you want it to be a threat perspective. You want to focus on the human smuggling problem, not on your actions that are trying to mitigate it. So again, the collection strategy, and you'll see this in my lecture a little bit, develop requirements, apply the intelligence disciplines, analyze the pitfalls in the collection cycle, be creative. You can do the UBL rate if you want. Most people do they look at an issue that affects them at work, or you can even look at the Capitol Hill issues or the future inauguration, right-wing extremist threat. Again, this is where I really want you to just put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and come up with something that's creative. And that's what you'll be evaluated on. Don't get hung up on this, so much, but put appropriate thought into it, so you can see a particular issue with its intelligence perspective. So the readings, the Lowenthal, Chapter 6, the Intelligence Tradecraft Primer, that is on the web now. And then the documentary is the PBS Frontline, The Confessions, which talks about some of these analytical pitfalls. I think it might take it to an extreme in this case, but pitfalls that analysts face. So if there's questions or issues, let me know, and I look forward to your discussion this week.